What if I told you that the greatest legends in history were once branded as failures? What if I revealed that the very people we now admire, the icons, the geniuses, the champions, once stood at the edge of defeat, mocked, rejected, and written off by the world? Failure. It's a word we fear. But what if failure is not the end of the story, but the very beginning? Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you'll see why the path to greatness is paved not by victories, but by scars, tears, and shattered beginnings. And here's the twist. Every legend you admire today was once exactly where you are now. Broken, doubted, and on the edge of giving up. Story 1. Thomas Edison, the man of 10,000 failures. He was called stupid by his school teachers. He was fired from his first 2 jobs for being unproductive. And when he tried to invent something that could change the world, the electric light bulb, he failed not once, not twice, but over 10,000 times. Imagine that. 10,000 failures. Most people would quit after 10, some after 1. But Edison, he famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Here's the payoff. The man the world mocked as a failure became the father of modern electricity. The bulb glowing in your room right now, born from those 10,000 mistakes. But here's the bigger question. What if Edison had stopped at 9,999? Would the world still be in darkness? Hold on to that thought, because the next story is about a man who failed even harder, but whose voice later shook the entire planet. Story 2. Winston Churchill, the rejected politician. Picture this, a man who failed every major exam in school, a man who was rejected by his own party, twice, a man whose political career was considered over before it even began. That man was Winston Churchill. During World War II, when Hitler's army was swallowing Europe, the world needed a leader. And suddenly, this same man, once branded as a loser, a has-been, a failure, rose to the podium and declared words that echoed through eternity, "We shall never surrender." And history bent in his favor. But here's the hidden twist. Churchill didn't become great despite his failures. He became great because of them. His scars became his strength, which leads us to this curiosity. What if failure is actually the training ground of legends? Because the next story will shock you. It's about a man rejected 302 times before anyone believed in him. Story 3. Colonel Sanders, 302 rejections. At 65 years old, Harlan Sanders was broke. He had no money, no job, no future. But he had one thing, a fried chicken recipe he believed the world would love. So he packed his car and he went from restaurant to restaurant pitching his chicken recipe. One said no, then 2, then 10, then 50. By the 100th rejection, most people would have quit. By the 200th, they would have laughed at themselves. But Sanders, he kept going, rejection after rejection, until finally, on the 1009th try, yes, the 1009th, someone finally said yes. That yes became Kentucky Fried Chicken, today one of the biggest food empires in the world. But here's the open loop. What drives a 65-year-old man to face 1,009 rejections without giving up? The answer lies in our next story, a woman who faced rejection not hundreds but dozens of years. Story 4. J.K. Rowling, the single mother on welfare. Once upon a time, a single mother sat in a small cafe in Edinburgh with a baby stroller by her side, scribbling notes. She was poor, depressed, and living on government welfare. She had a story in her heart about a young boy wizard, but publishers didn't care. She sent her manuscript to 12 publishers. Every single one rejected her. Not marketable, too long, no one will read this. But one small publishing house finally gave her a chance. That chance? Harry Potter. Today, J.K. Rowling is one of the most successful authors in history. But here's the secret. The world only knows her because she refused to let rejection define her. And now you're wondering, what do all these failures have in common? What makes them legends? The answer comes in the final story, the one that ties it all together. Story 5. Michael Jordan, the cut player. In high school, he wanted to make the basketball team. He practiced hard, gave his all, and then the list was posted. His name? Not there. He was cut. He locked himself in his room and cried. For many, that would have been the end. But for Jordan, that was the beginning. He turned his pain into fuel. Day after day, night after night, he trained harder, pushed farther, and worked longer than anyone else. Later, Michael Jordan would say, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed." The boy who was cut from the team became the man who redefined the game. So here's the real twist. Failure is not your enemy. Failure is your coach. But let me leave you with this question. What if the world's next legend is you? Failure isn't the end of your story. It's the rough draft of your success. Edison, Churchill, Sanders, Rowling, Jordan, they all prove one thing. The world doesn't remember the failures. It remembers the comeback. So if you feel rejected, broken, or overlooked right now, maybe you're not failing at all. Maybe you're just being written into the opening chapter of your legendary story. But here's where I'll leave you with the twist. The world is waiting for your story. The question is, will you give up now or keep going until your name is remembered forever? If this story lit a fire in you, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more stories that will keep you moving when the world tells you to quit. Because the truth is, failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is the doorway to it. And maybe, just maybe, the next legend we talk about will be you.